All right, take you now to that story that's been leading tonight. Following a failed 1 o'clock meeting yesterday, Santaco met with the Minister of Transport and they couldn't agree also on some of their demands. But for now, they are not going to operate tomorrow, at least for the next 48 hours. And they are pursuing the legal route where they seek an interdict from the courts to interdict the city from impounding their vehicles. But live in that room for that update, Newzroom Afrika's Nasiphi Same was there. She joins us now from Cape Town. Some developments even as we speak. Nasiphi, what are we learning now?
Meetings still continue and talks still continue as Santaco just minutes ago locked in a meeting once again with the Minister of Transport, and she is coming from that meeting with the local and provincial government. Earlier on I mentioned that she was indeed in this building in Bellville to engage with the taxi industry. She left after that meeting heading to Cape Town to meet with government. She's now back to give an update in regards to her meeting with the local and provincial government. However, with that being said, Santaco is saying that they're extending their stay away for 48 hours, as you put it. And yes, indeed, tomorrow they're looking at filing papers at court to not only to interdict the city of Cape Town from impounding their vehicles, including provincial, or rather the Department of Mobility in the Western Cape. So it does seem like the stalemate between the mother body, or rather the taxi industry, and government continues, as we saw and see what seemed to be communication from both the Premier and the Mayor to Santaco regarding a so-called meeting tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And one of the agendas, or rather the first agenda on the meeting that will be held under the task team, is the impasse. However, hearing from Santaco not too long ago when they held their media briefing was that there has been no communication from government, that is local and provincial government, going as so far as saying that they waited for government to join their meeting yesterday at 1 o'clock, and up until today they have not met with local and provincial government.
You try to push there, Nasiphi, the taxi bosses to find out how they are going to get their members to toe the line and not break the rules of the road by blocking roads and engaging in violent acts. It doesn't seem they've got a straight enough answer to say how, or even can make a commitment to say their members are not going to be participating in such acts.
The word that is ringing in my head at this present moment is a word that they used, which was they hope, which goes back to what the city of Cape Town has been indicating following the violence that has transpired in a number of communities, that as much as Santaco is distancing themselves from what is playing out in the various communities, the destruction, the violence, the torching of buses and trucks and private vehicles, including the deaths, as much as they're distancing themselves from it and calling on their members to stay at home and not partake in protest action, they only hope that they will heed to the call. However, numerous accounts we've heard from the city of Cape Town that it does not seem like Santaco has a firm grip on the organization, taking into account that a couple of days ago, minibus taxis blockaded the N2 near Botcher's Quarry, and about 60 arrests of taxi operators were affected by law enforcement officers and police, including the impounding of those vehicles that had blocked the road.
So, never saying that they are at this particular point unclear whether all those impounded taxis have been impounded based on the fact that they do not have those three conditions met: operating license, whether drivers were driving without a PDP, or whether the vehicles were unroadworthy. Because he's saying all the infringement notices are written one thing, operating contrary to the operating license. How do they plan to resolve this?
And it's quite interesting that, tomorrow they're heading to court to challenge the impounding of the bylaw and also interdict the city and the Department of Mobility in this regard, yet they do not have the figures as to how many minibus taxis, perhaps in the last 6 months alone, have been impounded, as they say, illegally. So it's quite interesting how they're going to get to a number as to how many of the minibus taxis that have been impounded need to be released. As we do know, according to the city of Cape Town, in the 6 months, they've impounded about 6,000 minibus taxis in just the 6 months or 7 months alone since the start of this year, and over 2,000 e-hailing service vehicles. So it is quite interesting in regards to what Santaco is saying about the impounding and how many vehicles that they're looking to have released under the banner that they were impounded illegally.
So as we speak then, right now, Nasiphi, they have just gone into a meeting with the Minister of Transport, who herself has come out of a meeting with the Premier of the city. We know the city, with the Premier of the province, because we know the city is not coming on board as far as these negotiations are concerned. It's only the provincial government at this point that is seemingly participating in the talks, especially with the taxi bosses. Should anything come out of this meeting, nothing is going to change as far as taxis operating tomorrow.
Indeed. Looking at the fact that they are saying that also having their vehicles on the road tomorrow is a risk, in the sense that, or rather they're basing it on a statement that was released by the City of Cape Town Safety and Security MACO member, J.P. Smith, a couple of days ago, that for every bus or truck that is torched, the city will be impounding 25 minibus taxis. So they're saying that with that threat on the table, and the fact that, according to them, the city has not come to the table to negotiate, not only do they feel that the city is targeting them, but they believe that having their vehicles operating tomorrow will not be playing in their favor. Instead, they will perhaps see a number of the minibus taxis impounded based on that threat. So it is quite interesting, but also quite concerning, looking at the devastating impact that this stay away has had, not only on the economy of the city of Cape Town, but the province in its entirety, including the various communities where we've seen violent protests break out, and the 5 deaths that we saw as a result of the protest action, and also attributed to the taxi stay away. So it is indeed quite sad, and the fact that tomorrow, when commuters wake up, they don't know whether or not they should get onto a bus, as we've seen the number of buses that have been torched. And just speaking to you now, a couple of hours ago, as these marathon meetings are continuing in the city of Cape Town, including Bellville, there were a number of sporadic violent protests in places like Langa and Nyanga. So tomorrow we can expect the impasse to not only continue, but for commuters to remain in limbo and not be able to commute to and from home and work.
Are you aware at all at this particular point if the Golden Arrow bus service will be operating tomorrow?
They indicated about 4 hours ago that tomorrow they will be resuming services, as we do know that sometime last week, or rather earlier on this week, they were operating on 50%, rather they were operating with 50%. We do understand that tomorrow they will be providing services. However, the question of whether or not the buses will not only be intimidated but torched and stoned is something that we are yet to see, even though Golden Arrow Bus was granted that interdict this past weekend against Santaco and the 8 associations, against the intimidation and torching of buses. But it's yet to be seen. The City of Cape Town saying that they are more than ready for any eventuality and will be restoring law and order tomorrow. And if needs be, they will be escorting the My City buses, including the Golden Arrow buses, to ensure that commuters do arrive safely, not only to their various destinations, but to the workplace as well.
Nasiphi Same, appreciate your reporting tonight. Thank you for coming on and bringing us that update. That's Nasiphi Same. She's live there, as you can see, outside the Santaco offices, where, as we speak, meetings continue. The Minister of Transport now in meetings, again, with the Taxi Association, following her deliberations with the Premier of the province, Alan Windey.